in about 3, 2, 1.
Thank you. This is Senate Reapportionment Committee. It is Wednesday, February 16th. And for those of you who are not watching it live, it is 7:30 in the morning, which is why we all have big cups with us. Excuse me. So, last time, I think that we talked about doing a map, and I'm sure that you all have done the same thing and redone all the maps again. I have, and last night I spent the entire night dreaming about numbers, population numbers, and pension contributions. It was just a really exciting dream. So I think what we should do probably, since we asked Nick to kind of put together the two suggestions that had been brought forth so far, is ask Nick, did you have time to do that?
Yes, Madam Chair, certainly do. I've got it pulled up right here.
Okay, great.
For the record, Nick Atherton, mapping specialist with Vermont Office of Legislative Counsel. And I'm going to pull up the map that is the product of several plans put together, and we can examine it from there. That should be available for viewing. Is everyone seeing that?
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, excellent.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
let me just jump in. I've got kids and everybody running out, so I'm here, I'm listening closely, but I'm going to be off camera for a little bit. But I will say I took the assignment and worked with Nick on a presentable Chittenden County plan.
Oh, good. Thank you. I did too, but it's probably not presentable. But I redid Chittenden County too. Anyway, all right. So let's look at this.
Yeah.
Oh, Addison is still way out there, isn't it? Oh, but Huntington isn't in there.
Right.
Yeah, I wanted to start by demonstrating that Chittenden could be kept whole, but it does leave a problem for Addison, and anyway, it was sort of just part of my process.
What do you mean kept whole? That you wouldn't have to divide up Chittenden County except within it?
Yeah, you could, you know, when you're adding in Grand Isle, you can make it all go as an 8-seater, actually, entirely within the county. But Addison, you know, in fact, I regret to say, but Huntington and Beals Gork do sort of balance the Addison problem out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's when yeah. So did you divide up Chittenden in a way that well, you have Chittenden with 2. Oh, but that's just one.
Yeah, there's 4 there, actually.
Yeah.
I mean,
But doesn't Huntington and Billsgore blend in with Starksboro?
well, I don't know about blend in.
You can drive from one to the other.
Well, you can, yeah. I mean, they are, you know, they have been there now. So that's the problem for them, is that they didn't like it then, and you know, but yeah, it's a plausible, you know, it's worked. It's, you know, it's just not ideal for them. But the numbers for Addison County present challenges. So that's the hard reality.
Yeah, we really have to do something with Addison County.
Well, will 2,000 votes fix it? because that's what you've got in Huntington and Buell's Gore is
Yeah.
1960 or something
I
like
did,
that.
when I did it, I did Addison plus Huntington and Buell's Gore and Braintree and came up with 40,533.
So, Chris, may I just ask, are you able to present sort of wholly your vision and idea for what
Sure.
you do? Because we gave you that charge and.
Yeah,
Yeah, so there's two, there's, so let's start at the top with Grand Isle, and I'll show you there. So I took in the entirety of Grand Isle County, so that brings Alberg back, combined it here with Colchester, Milton, Westford, and Underhill, so the northern string, and that makes a pretty nice two-seat configuration. You know, one of the things that I'm trying to do, and it's hard, but with these smaller subset of the county districts, you have to be mindful that, like, even in this district, Colchester has 4+ house seats, so it's by far the big town. And you don't, you know, to me, I'm cautious of setting a district up where one town just is going to be, you know, it's like if it was Brattleboro and Putney only, you know, you would be very much advantaging Brattleboro in that scenario. And I don't even know if they're contiguous, but you know, you see my point. So I am trying to be sensitive to that. So there's a two-seater. It leaves the northern map that Senator Starr and Senator you guys all worked on, Senator Brock, and so I left that totally intact. Then moving south, Nick, we did a Burlington, which is a pretty perfect two-seater. Then, boy, that's a weird coloring. Oh, because you've got some of the lake there. Okay, can you see the lighter blue is land? So then this is the other slightly strange thing. What you're seeing right below Burlington in the blue is one house district from Burlington. It is the district, yes, thank you, Nick, that borders the Lake Champlain. You know, if you're ever in Burlington and you drive south on Route 7 before you get to Charlotte to Shelburne, you're in South Burlington for a while. And so it is sort of this, South Burlington itself has a weird shape. So by adding that house district, which is admittedly not great to split up South Burlington, but that brings the rest of southern Chittenden County and eastern Chittenden County into a nice two-seater. And so zoom out, Nick, please. Oh, well, yeah, I don't know. So that has sort of, anyway, the only way to neatly do that I could think of was to take about 4,000 or 5,000 people from South Burlington. So that's what I did there by this. There is that sort of logic of Route 7. And then go north, Nick. That's the rest of South Burlington, Winooski, and Essex. And here again, you've got Essex and South Burlington, two pretty significant towns, sort of balancing each other out. Winooski is very hard to honor appropriately in this process because they're real little and somewhat unique in their sense of identity, but this was as good as I could think to do. So I mean, I was pleased with the way this came out. It is a little strange about South Burlington, and I know they're asked to be kept together, but a lot of people are asking for things. So anyway, it was a starting point that, importantly for everybody here, you know, you'd been asking me like, well, where are we dribbling in and out of Chittenden County to impact other districts? And, you know, the answer is not very much if we do something like this. with possibly the exception for Addison.
But that gives Chittenden two extra senators.
No, it gives, well, you can see they're all in balance, but don't forget that we've taken the islands, right? And so that was already one. So we were already at 7, and then we've balanced the numbers out. And this does balance. I mean, Nick and I started with the map that you all handed us, in the sense that it was the southern map that I think it was Senator White was working on, and the northern map that you all were working on. It's not a done deal, obviously, but I just tried to. I thought that was the assignment.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Chris, I kind of did the same, ended up with the same thing, although I started with by making actually some changes in the northern map that was worked on and put it back to the more minority map, but ended up in the same place with Chittenden and Grand Isle with 8 senators. I mean, I worked the other way and ended up, there were 8 left over for that area, which makes sense because it has to gain 1. And I also split South Burlington just because something is going to have to split in Chittenden.
And is it fair to say it's the most geographically, it's the most challenging town in that it's bizarrely shaped?
It is.
Right. I mean, so in a perfect world, it probably wouldn't have been created that way anyway.
Yeah, and the weird, it wouldn't be such a strange shape if it didn't have that little toe at the bottom there.
Mhm.
But that's just like parkland or something. I don't even think that's a population tract really. So it's a little deceptive that way. But yeah, I mean, I tried a map before that was again ran into sort of this challenge and was trying to divide Williston. But that's a very, the nice thing about South Burlington for this exercise is that there's sort of a spread of residents everywhere. So it's not like, Williston has farmland, it has, big tracts of land with no people in them. South Burlington is sort of neighborhoods everywhere. And so in that sense, it's a little easier to divide up. And like I said, there is that sort of South Burlington Route 7 corridor that hangs together. And so at least you can apply some logic there.
And you took about 4,300, about 4,000 people out of South Burlington.
Yeah, not knowing exactly what to do, I just asked Nick to use current District 7-1. I know that's a House district because it there's a poll that I go stand at that it is just that one House race. So I recall that way.
Yeah.
So Chris, I appreciate your work. I'm just kind of wondering, what do folks in Underhill have in common with folks in Alberg?
Well, I mean, we've also wondered about Underhill and could join Lamoille if it's, I mean, I guess in some ways in this exercise, any town that's on the edge of a county, you have to wonder about. I don't think they have anything in common with Alberg other than they are quite much more rural than most people would think for Chittenden County.
Okay.
But no, it's not ideal, though. They have that northern track there, Milton, Westford, Underhill, does share a sort of feeling of being, in the very rural, considering it's Chittenden County, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Again, I don't know the area that well, so I didn't mean to make it a smart aleck question. I just, I was interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I think there's a point in that, and that may well be that this may lend itself more to two single member districts if the line can be split. That would have more in common individually than they would with the two-member whole. In other words, Grand Isle and at least part of Colchester could be a single district and the rest could be a single district, each having more in common with the other than they would as part of a larger whole.
Yeah.
I think that might work.
Well,
I would just say, the current Grand Isle district without Alberg, right, is,
Yep.
let me just see, I've got my map here, is high, is
Oh,
6%. So that means you'd have to either keep Alberg with Franklin County, which you haven't proposed in your map. And
I have another alternative that does that, which we haven't discussed.
yeah.
So do I.
The thing is, but then we are splitting Colchester. So
Yep.
Colchester is the big weight in this one. It's at least 4 House seats. Milton is 2, for instance. Although Milton and the Islands is a total of 4 House seats. And I just use 4 House seats as shorthand for 4/5 of a Senate. So yeah, I mean, I'm just totally open to it. This was a first draft, please, for any public listening, don't think that I'm wed to this. This was an attempt to logically pull it together.
yeah. I thank you. Thank you. This is interesting to think about.
Did you like how
I think
I effortlessly changed from my phone to my laptop? Did you notice that?
Well,
And not only that, you changed your room. You're
Yeah,
in a different place.
I moved cars, got the kids off to school.
Whoa.
Multitask. We're very impressed.
Multitasker.
I'm a remote working success this morning.
We're impressed.
Well, not me. I need more coffee and I can't go get it.
So the one thing at play here is, I mean, there are lots of things at play, but it looks, how does Chittenden Southeast look if Huntington and Buell's Gore goes back to Addison County? I know I hate to do it to you. You're a Chittenden County advocate wanting to keep it whole, but Huntington and Buell's Gore are in the Addison district. And
Yeah.
I'm just curious what the numbers do to Addison if we, and that
Nick-
Southeast, if we take Huntington and Buell's Gore back and put it back in at the Addison district.
Nick is, it looks like about to show us. I forget the actual.
So making that switch would put Addison at negative 5.46% variant deviation, and Chittenden Southeast at negative 1.09% deviation.
Oh,
So not bad.
So regretfully, it works perfectly, right?
No. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, Chris. I know this is not your first choice, but that may make some sense.
Well, numbers wise, it works good.
And that works with, I can't look.
Go ahead and make that switch, Nick, just so people can.
And Nick, do those numbers work with Braintree or without Braintree?
Those are with, including Braintree in Addison County.
Okay.
So
I will say that I wrestled with this a little bit. Fayston and Warren, the other bordering towns, there's a whole mountain range in the middle. I mean, that's really unfair, I think, community wise. Somebody had presented Heinsberg. That Heinsberg is a little linked to Moncton, but it's more like Moncton uses Heinsberg to get to the highway and into Chittenden County. It's if I had a guess, I would say it's more one directional. So yeah. Anyway, no perfect solutions, that's for sure.
No. For sure.
Well,
So where, where, guys, do we go now? Should we have Nick print up this map and get it to us, and we can play with it? I've been playing with, I got all the way down to Burlington, but it's different. And I think Randy just said he did the same thing. So maybe we can get a copy of this map, and then we can see where any of us would think that there should be, or suggest changes from this map, because this map reflects the kind of three working groups.
There's
And
one other change, and Nick, I think late yesterday, you were sent another district builder map that deal with Chittenden and Grand Isle counties. Were you able to update your program with that?
No, I wasn't. I just took the marching orders from when the assignment to merge the three was given back on Monday.
All right. Well, I don't think that, absent that we're going to be able to, at least I'm going to be able to describe those changes, but I did make a number of other changes with a different configuration for Grand Isle. And effectively, it created a single member Grand Isle district. It moved with Colchester, it moved Alberg back into Franklin. It took Fairfax out of Franklin and then created a district that included Milton, Fairfax, and several other towns to create a district to the east with Westford and so on. But I'm not prepared to present that in detail today. I think it just needs more work, and our group needs to look at that as an alternative.
Randy, I had thought one of your hopes was to have Fairfax and Georgia back fully into the.
It was, but I think it's a situation where we've got deviations, and we have to look at all the alternatives, even some that we may not individually like a lot. So that's just another alternative to consider. And I did deal with Chittenden in all of this as well. But again, before presenting to the group, I want to have a chance to have a conversation with Chris on it. And it was just, we ran out of hours yesterday.
so, so I'm going to suggest that, again, that Nick print this out, that we start, that you can send it to us. And I know some people don't get their mail for 2 weeks, but I don't know how else to do this. I would love to have a copy of this, although I guess if you, if we had it there, I could maybe send it down, email it to a printer in Brattleboro and pick it up there. I don't know if other people have that option to do or not, but I would love to see this and then be able to look at the changes that Randy has suggested for his map compared to what this is. And I also made some changes and did some stuff, and I would like to put those against this map just for myself.
Is
Does that
yours
make-
ready to be looked at, Madam Chair?
What?
Is yours ready to be looked at now?
Not unless you're able to read it like this.
Oh,
So-
I can't see it, so.
It isn't, it isn't a map. It's just,
Oh, okay.
I have here like, what is in what district and what the populations are, but I don't have it in a map, and I could also send that to Nick and see if he can, but I'd like to start from this because this seems to be the work of many people.
Yep.
The big maps that we got in the mail are a lot better to work from than the computer screen, which they're really small.
Right, that's why I suggested maybe Nick could print this one out, send it to us. And even if, Randy, if you and Nick can get your map together, maybe he can send that out too, or we can at least look at it from this map. Oh, Andy, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. I was just one, I was gonna tell Nick, you don't need to mail me a map. I've got, multiple screens and they're big, so I find it actually easier to do it on the computer than the printed map, but just to save you the postage and the printing. And there's an issue that Allison and I, Senator Clarkson and I, are going to work on with the Washington orange kind of border, which would also, of course, domino into effect. This map makes some big changes to Washington County with Stowe and Hardwick, which I have a lot of questions about. So just letting know that, Senator Clarkson and I talked about how that Washington orange border, which also orange obviously borders Windsor, which Senator Clarkson's area. So we were going to try to work on that. We're going to meet tomorrow morning and we can forward that. And then I just had a general question. If we had an idea of how we would actually get to a decision, because and maybe we just kind of muddle through this and then just, clarity will descend upon us. But I guess I'm wondering about showing all these different maps. We could all bring different maps of different sections forward. And even if we kind of agree on a section, since they're all interconnected and can domino through, I'm just wondering if I'm having trouble seeing how we get to agreeing on a map that we can put forward.
Well,
But
I'm
maybe
going to make a radical suggestion around that. I'm going to suggest that we kind of, as you said, muddle around with these different maps and play with them and stuff, and that we make a commitment to at least once during town meeting week to come together in person in Montpelier and sit down together and hash it out.
I don't plan to be here during town meeting week. I'm on vacation that week.
Uh-oh.
Just for
And
information.
I'm in Florida.
Well, I guess that.
What about the Monday? What about the Monday right before we go in person?
Oh, the 7th or
I'm
whatever
planning
that
to
is.
come back that day and I have flight reservations to come back on that Monday.
Yeah, all right.
So,
So we could maybe meet, but not in person.
we will be
Yeah.
in person the very next day on the 8th.
Yeah.
So maybe we could actually revert, Jeanette, to go to your suggestion. Maybe we could, if we're going to be in person on the 8th, maybe we could commit to doing that after chairs meeting, do a 5 to 6:30 or a 5 to 7 on that Tuesday, the 8th.
Or ask Becca not to do a chairs meeting.
Well,
And
but
start-
I think we're going to have a chairs meeting because it's the week before crossover.
yeah, it's
need
crossover. It's that
we
week.
need
is-
to, yeah.
Yeah.
We need to do that.
Hmm.
And Randy, what
Well,
time do you get back on that day, on Monday?
I think it's 3:00, something like that. If it's on time.
Yeah, but that after the 8th would work, I think, because we had saved that time in the later afternoon. It strikes me that people's travel schedules make sense.
We've got some time before then.
Yeah.
Let's
We
see
can
if we
figure that
can
out.
make progress.
Okay.
So do we want to, we have an hour in theory right now.
Yeah, maybe.
Do we want to look at the Stowe issue, for instance? I remain a little uncomfortable about that, knowing what I know about that area. As an example.
Yeah, in my thing, I left Stowe in Lamoille.
Yes.
I removed Cambridge, but left Stowe.
Oh, yikes.
That's nice, Allison. You know where Richie lives?
No, that was Jeanette that said that. No, I have
I
no
didn't
idea
say
where he
that.
lives.
Lives in Cambridge.
Oh, I did
Yeah.
not know that. Okay.
But I agree. I think Stowe is something we need to discuss.
But you know what, the reason that we talked about moving Stowe into Washington was that it fit. There was a significant deviation in Washington County, which was below the numbers that we needed to reach. And Stowe added to it, cured that. Now, we may have done some things subsequent to that pushed it in the other direction, but that was not the case when Stowe was moved in there.
Mhm.
Plus Lamoille was over by quite a bit.
Correct.
Mhm.
And so it balanced it.
Oh, we all understand that what's happening, but I mean, if you ever drive to Stowe, it's not like you're, I don't know. There's a pretty stark divide. There's a highway. There's no community that is sort of bumping into Stowe in that sense, other than Waterbury, I suppose. But there's a real bright line there. I don't know. I mean, Andy, you're from Washington County. Am I wrong here? It just seems the good people of Stowe, I think, would be rather shocked. But maybe it's the same principle everywhere. I don't know.
The
Well,
Waterbury and Stowe, I mean, Route 100 goes right through there.
Morristown
Morristown and Stowe are like night and day.
but on the other hand, Stowe is the star of Lamoille County. I mean, it is like taking Killington out of Rutland. It is an identity. It is an economic engine. It is hugely important to Lamoille County.
Well, remember, we're not taking them out of the counties. We're taking them out of the Senate districts.
Correct.
It would
I'm-
still be the
I know. I'm just
Instead
saying.
of having one senator, they'd have four then, because Richie would still, if he was there, he would still work on their behalf, and then they'd get three from Washington County. So I think they'd be ahead of the game.
Well,
But more of my concern is that, we said that there was a problem with Washington County being -7, and then this map puts it at +7.29. So we didn't benefit at all as far as deviations, if that's
Yeah.
our primary goal. So that's more, major concern. I would say Hardwick is more of a issue than Stowe, but I think, depending on kind of what happens down there on the Orange Washington line to try to help Orange, because right now this map has Orange at 8%, which I would say we would try not to do. So that's the kind of my issue, as you kind of, I wouldn't want to say like, okay, let's agree to this, because if you change something on the southern border of Washington County, that's going to make it not work.
yeah.
so. So can I ask a different question here? I can't remember why you guys took Newbury out of Caledonia and put Linden in, because Newbury really relates more to Caledonia County than to Orange County, and that leaves Orange County really high.
There's Newbury.
I actually thought that Randy, Bobby, and I thought I heard them say they actually hadn't moved it. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, we didn't move
We
it.
didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, I
No.
thought that's what I heard you say, is that you hadn't moved it, and
No.
so I don't know how that happened.
No, we didn't move Newbury.
Well, if you move Newbury back in, then you
It's
have
all
to take,
orange. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, okay, so that wasn't,
That-
okay,
That's
okay. I was confused by that.
yeah. I think that was a piece of sort of I think we'd flag that as a how did that happen flag.
Yep, we did.
that may have been an artifact of several plans conflicting with one another. I'd be happy to move it back in right now if you'd like.
Yeah, that would be great.
All right,
So
great.
we can see what that does.
See, then you've got some room to play in Caledonia County by moving some towns there toward Washington, or however you want to do it, to help them out.
Well, when I did it here, I had Caledonia, Newbury, less Hardwick plus Concord,
Yeah,
and less Linden.
So, this, just before we talk about this is just another stark example of what one town's move does in
Yeah.
a one-person district. That's just amazing to go from 2.36 to 13.05 with
Yeah.
one town that has 2,200 people in it. Because I know people have been saying it, but that's a really stark example of it.
Which is maybe why we shouldn't have any one-member districts.
don't get back into that.
I was working with this too, and I thought like, well, let's just add Hardwick and we'll get, but you're not really quite close to a 2-person district, it's
Right.
No. You're-
Uh,
No,
And that-
and Northeast has to lose one. So unless we moved a lot of Washington into Caledonia, and Washington had 2 and Caledonia had 2.
So if we're looking at this at the Caledonia district, if Linden came out, what would that do? I mean,
Linden's
I know
big.
it's
Yeah, I think
big.
we had Linden out and Concord in.
Yeah, but that you're switching, well,
Well, yeah, you are. That's what we're doing with
Look at
everything.
that.
a -12.
yeah.
Newbury.
Plus
Oh, and-
Linden,
And we had Hardwick in there too, but so that
And
That-
that puts it,
That's a little, yeah. That's where they are now, right?
Yeah.
right,
Hardwick.
yeah,
yeah, but Linden is down with Caledonia.
Yeah.
Concord's up with me up in Essex.
right.
but that's because they're two-member districts, and we know that those 4 senators are going to have to be moved down to 3. I mean, we know that.
Well, you got 3, 2 and 1 is 3 instead of 4.
Right.
but it-
I'm just saying, yes.
I hear the chair saying it means things are shifting, and so we have to accept that. But I would say Linden, by my sense of the town, is much more connected to St. Johnsbury than Newport, for instance.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
everything from Linden goes south.
Yeah.
You
So if you
go
put
through-
Linden back in and Hardwick and Walden out,
Well,
is
What
that
does
what
that
you
do?
guys did?
Hardwick could go with Washington,
Yeah.
or it could go with Lamoille. I mean,
What
by
hap-
all rights.
Yeah.
Would it not? What happens if you do what the chair just suggested, Nick?
what did she just suggest?
Oh,
I
Walden.
suggested Linden back in, Hardwick and Walden out,
Put
And-
them,
Move
put them
them down
into,
to Washington.
and maybe Concord out. I don't know how.
I think you'd have to take Stowe back to Lamoille.
oh,
in
wait,
that-
wait. I thought you said Hardwick and Walden into the Northern District.
I
that-
just said, I didn't say where it should go. I just said out of Caledonia.
Go south because then you'd be out of balance significantly, I think.
Yeah.
Well, we just took Linden from Essex, Orleans. So
Right,
it's not clear to me why we would then not give them back something.
yeah.
Well,
You'd have to give them back Concord.
yeah, but look at your deviation up there, 4.19, and Concord back in will put us back up around 5.5, I would presume.
Yeah.
But you're negative. That was
Negative. That's better for you.
That's good. But if you move Hardwick and Walden, you got 3,400 people down to Washington. Would that work? Because you go from Hardwick to Woodbury to Calais, you know,
You get a large deviation then again.
still way
Both
over.
Caledonia and Washington now do.
And if you remove Stowe again and return it to Lamoille, I think Washington is made pretty whole.
But then Lamoille is way out of balance,
way out.
way out of balance. That was the
Oh,
whole
okay.
point in moving Stowe in the first place, was to get a better balance between Lamoille and Washington.
Well,
These-
so
these-
do you think we could convince Richie to move so that he could move Cambridge?
I
May I
doubt
just-
it. I think he told me he had 7, 8, or 20 odd apartments up there and the farm.
May I just ask a question? If one of our priorities is as much as possible to keep counties whole, what does Fletcher in this case, keeping Stowe and Lamoille, what does adding Fletcher back to Franklin do?
It
It'll put
creates
them over
Franklin is
7.
over to begin with, and it makes it increasingly over.
Yeah. 8, yeah, that doesn't work.
It takes you up to 8.
So when I was playing with this, I took, and I know Bobby, don't jump on me. I took Richford and Montgomery out of Orleans and put it back in Franklin, and took it out of Franklin. Yeah, and so they're in the Northeast Kingdom, and I put Fairfax, Georgia. Oh, and I put Cambridge. So I guess forget that. I forgot about that.
I hope you forgot about it.
Yeah, I had no idea where anybody lives.
You better come north for a week during town meeting and just ride around.
Well, I have done that, but I don't know where people live.
I mean, it's hard to look at Lamoille as a single member district if Stowe is still in there. Because, what else do you move?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
nothing else that I see that's easily movable that will get Lamoille's number down.
And the only way you can get from Cambridge to Stowe all through the winter months is with a snow machine up over the notch. I mean,
Yeah,
you have to
with-
drive up to Johnson and then back down through to get to Stowe. I mean,
Well, and just to see what's the difference if Stowe is in Washington, but Hardwick is in Lamoille. Stowe is a lot bigger, but because I still think that there's something, things will happen on the south, but I think Stowe has more connection to Washington County than Hardwick. But
oh, definitely.
Yeah.
doesn't quite do it.
And that's still, without Fletcher being added, which we had
Yeah.
before. And so you also have now this big deviation in Franklin.
I'm just glad we all agree Chittenden County is no longer the problem. I'm
Moving
noting
Minuscule.
the time.
What time is it?
No, it's a date stamp, Madam Chair,
Almost
when we
quarter
all
after 8.
agreed Chittenden County was no longer the problem.
Oh, I
8:15.
see a date stamp on that. Yeah, I'm not so sure. I have done some things to Chittenden County that you probably wouldn't like. But.
So,
It's tricky. It is really hard. And those single seat districts, boy, it doesn't take much to send them out of
Yeah.
whack.
So just looking, and I know I don't live up there, so tell me about Craftsbury. Talk to me about Craftsbury and how it might work with Lamoille.
Craftsbury?
Yeah,
What-
if we kept Stowe out and, oh, we're,
So if you
Yeah.
put
yeah,
Craftsbury in, it would
sorry.
add more.
no,
Yeah.
we don't want
The
it. No.
deviation would be even higher.
Yeah, no, sorry, I was still thinking Stowe was back,
I
yeah,
don't know if there's any way to get from Crashberry to Wilcott.
yeah,
You know, you
same.
can't just hop that green line and go from Crashberry. You'd have to go down and around or something.
Yeah, we gotta get a a mountain moving
Yeah.
app to do that.
Yeah.
I know,
What
I
if-
have to get mine out of the car. That is, we need the ranges. School
What if you
district
put
ranges.
Stowe back in and put Underhill back in and Westford and made it a 2-member district? It isn't quite high enough for 2, is it?
Close.
No, but you could pull Wolcott. You could,
Or you put Fletcher back in and see if you get high enough for a 2-member district.
Yeah. There's Wilk.
No, still,
No,
Plus that messes up Chittenden Grand Isle. Now they're 17 below.
yeah.
well, the ripples are everywhere.
Maybe we should, here's a suggestion.
Hmm.
I think we should have just 30 at-large senators elected by the entire,
The
What do you think about
entire
that?
state,
huh?
Sure.
elected by the entire state.
Right.
Boy,
30
the
at large.
voters would love us if they had that mess.
It would solve a lot of this.
usually helps us at the higher end of the lower end of the alphabet, though.
That's true. I would never
Yeah.
get elected.
Vote for not more than 30. Then the ballot's an accordion ballot, you know?
Okay,
Look at Lamoille now. It's 34% over.
yeah. Well, I was trying to see if it would be 2,
Yeah.
but it can't, yeah,
No, it doesn't work. It really
No.
doesn't work.
it really doesn't.
I think that ought to go to Washington County.
Yeah, I agree.
Which one?
Stowe.
So,
Oh, yeah,
See, that helps Washington County out pretty well.
I think, we
And-
want to get as close as we can to deviation, but in a way, one of the things we might ask ourselves is what's the largest deviation for an individual district that we are willing to accept?
Well,
Right, yeah, it depends on which way. You have to
Well,
look at
I'd-
the total deviation between the biggest and the littlest. Because you can't say, okay, it's going to be 10, but then have a plus 10 and a negative 10, because then we have a
right.
total of
right,
20.
if it was plus 10 and negative 2, that would be fine.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think
Well-
that's probably why we've tried to hover around 5 or 6.
Well, I guess,
But
what I'm asking in a way is just for an individual deviation, assuming that it balances out someplace else, do we have a maximum that we think? For example, we look at this Lamoille here and it's over 10. Would we accept that? Or would we say it's got to still be lower than that, even in that one direction before we'd accept it?
Well,
So,
like if you blended them in with Essex or Orleans, we're a minus 1.5. So you fool with that, you come up with an 11 or 12, so you're at 6. I mean, between the two. I think eventually we're gonna have to average out all those numbers and see where we are.
But what you have to do is you have to take the highest high and the lowest low and figure out if that's the,
Oh,
so I would be perfectly happy to say, in one single member district, we could be at a deviation of 10, but not if we're at a minus deviation of 9. I mean, you have to look at the
Yeah,
highest,
okay.
and the lowest, and I'm trying to figure out here what our lowest is. I think it's about a 5. Is that right? Our lowest?
I can't see the
Minus-
whole state. Oh, here we go.
So currently the lowest deviation is negative 7.737%. That's in Bennington. And
Oh,
the
right.
highest positive is positive 10.29%. That's the current Lamoille.
So that's 17.
17. And I think one of the things that we've heard is right around 16 is where there becomes an issue. But if you can justify
Yeah.
why you're, I mean, it isn't a hard and fast number, I don't think. I think it's justifying the deviations plus how you've divided up the communities and followed the county lines
Right.
and all of that.
But by the time you're justifying, you're basically in a courtroom, right?
No,
Only if somebody challenges.
Well,
if you,
yes, I think you're right, Chris. I think that is more challengeable.
but if
Right,
the
but it-
people are happy within
Right.
their districts, they aren't gonna sue anybody. It's more about keeping the citizens happy with their districts and not constantly changing them from one to another to another.
Mhm.
People hate change, and if it gets off too much, they would sue, because everybody loves suing nowadays.
But I
Well-
think that's the point. It wouldn't end up for the court to decide unless somebody filed a suit. The court isn't going to look at this and say, oh, we're going to take this on. Somebody has to file the suit.
Or some lawyer that's not got a lot to do calls a town and says, hey, your deviation's way off. How about suing?
Well, if we keep the deviation narrow, there's no, you're right that people have to be happy. And if they're unhappy and there's a 12% deviation, there's no merit to bring a suit. So it is like a lot of this, it is a blending of factors.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
Go back. What was Rutland's deviation?
I think it's 6.
Oh, because I
Which
was
is-
thinking if you put one Rutland town into Bennington, that would then bring Rutland back up to 7. So that wouldn't make any difference.
let's see.
We could put Weston in Bennington.
No, we'd prefer to keep Weston.
I realize that. I'm just trying to get Bennington to be less than -7.
You
Problem
guys
is, all
down,
the towns around it are minus.
Huh?
The problem is all the towns around them basically are minus. I mean, Wyndham is
Windsor.
even, basically.
Right. But yeah, if they had one more town and
it would have to be a small one. Because
so, or you could put Wilmington back in there, which would,
not 2,200.
yeah,
That's
it would
gonna
bring
be,
it up. And it would and Wyndham is so close right now that
it's gonna,
see,
Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah. But you lobbied hard to get Wilmington back, Madam Chair.
I know, but I mean, we've got to,
Yeah, I know.
yeah,
And-
Wilmington would
Madam
love to
Chair
be
is
back.
sacrificing by example.
Madam Jeanette, can you explain why Wilmington and not Whitingham?
Well, because you can't even get to Bennington County from Whitingham.
Okay,
Yeah,
because
the
the
big
Green Mountains are right
Well,
there.
no, there's no road. It's not the
Oh,
Green
okay.
Mountains. There's no road.
Yeah, but you guys have helicopters, don't you, down there?
No, Wilmington, right, Route 9 goes right through Wilmington and over to Bennington. The problem in getting there is those two unmarked towns, Searsburg, which is right between Woodford and Wilmington, which has a mountain on it. And it's really impossible to go over in the wintertime, but there is, Whitingham could never go over there. That would be, you can only get to Whitingham from Halifax and Wilmington.
Hmm.
I mean, you can get there from Reedsboro, but that does put Bennington and Wyndham really within a decent range.
And that gives us a little wiggle room elsewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because that means that the lowest now is
Probably Rutland.
like a 6.
Yeah.
well, given what happens if we put Pittsfield back in Rutland, if we keep Stratford and Thetford in Windsor, because those populations, my guess is that would help Rutland a bit.
Little bit.
Yeah, no, a bit.
Wilmington, has that been in Bennington before?
Yes.
Yeah, for 20 years and they've hated it, but they've lived with it. In fact, they are, as Bobby pointed out, they're one of those towns that really considers they have four senators. They always call on the Windham County and the Bennington County senators whenever there's anything that happens in Wilmington.
Yeah, well.
So-
So maybe it's an advantage to be a town in a different county, in a different district.
Some people
Hey,
think
you
it
get more
is.
senators.
Madam Chair, just to let
Yeah.
you know, that arrangement puts Rutland at the lowest deviation with negative 5.81% and leaves current Lamoille at positive 10.29% deviation.
Huh. So we're
So
at a
together, that's like a 7.
spread. We're at a spread of about 15, almost
Right.
16.
Right.
Correct.
That's not so bad.
We're getting there, slouching towards Bethlehem here.
This.
Caledonia's 8.
Yeah, I'd like to get something out of Caledonia, but I don't know what. Because you're right, Linden probably orients more towards St. Johnsbury
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
than north.
Well, and Waterford's right there in St. J too, they're,
Yeah. Yeah, all of those. I mean, the makeup of the county is pretty good, but they're at 8 and Lamoille is at 10, so they fall within the. I mean,
Right.
they're not adding to the spread.
So let me ask Andrew and Bobby, what about Hardwick? If you move that to Essex Orleans, you're helping Lamoille out and you're helping Essex Orleans out, but I don't know if there's any affinity for that town. Where did folks there go?
they either go to St. J or to Montpelier. Hardwick is right where 14 and 15 come together. And
Yeah.
they don't go north at all from.
Okay.
They also head east to Morristown.
Morrisville. They go toward Wilcott a lot and south toward Montpelier. But it's a pretty rough drive. That road it's quite a little ways from Hardwick to Montpelier.
Yeah, I would say Hardwick's more either Morrisville or St. J.
Yeah,
West route is more, and then it puts like you have, big towns in the corners of the district in a way, Barry and then Hardwick and then Stowe, if you're trying to, just as far as having those population centers spread out.
Where you don't want to move it to Caledonia, you don't want to move it to Washington because that exacerbates the problem. The only place that it would help number-wise is to go north and
See-
relieve some of Lamoille's population, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
See,
Well,
Wilcott's been in our district up north, but it really should be in Lamoille County because it's not far from Hyde Park and Morrisville and,
Yep.
and
And is,
They have begged for years to go back to Lamoille.
yeah, and isn't
Yeah.
their school district, I think is all part of that, right?
well, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Runs across, through the valley, east to west or west to east.
Yeah,
And the only town that you could move up with us that would make any sense would be maybe Belvedere. And that wouldn't be, they go sometimes to Montgomery, but they usually go down through Waterville to Cambridge. They don't come north a lot from Belvedere. But we're only short, we're down 1.53, so
Yeah.
there is a
Won't be
whole lot
that big a
of,
difference.
no,
Right.
you may as well leave them where they'd be
Really?
happy.
Yeah.
The only possibility to make any changes there is to move Cambridge, and I guess we can't do that, so.
No,
What about if we aim for a 2-seat district, pulled Underhill, Stowe, Craftsbury back into Lamoille? Where does that get you?
Crashberry would not want to be in Lamoille. They're,
Okay.
And Underhill really is, has no relationship with Lamoille.
Well, I'm not sure I agree with that. They're certainly, it's more that Cambridge has a relation, and those towns have a relationship with Underhill, but it's, I don't love the idea, but we're scrambling for solutions here. I just wonder what that hits us at.
so what was your suggestion, Chris? Taking Underhill and moving it up into Lamoille?
yeah. And moving Stowe back in.
Yeah, that it doesn't get us far enough.
Doesn't
though.
get us
You
there.
need about 5,000 more people.
Yeah. All right.
Just
How
doesn't
can that
work.
be minus 22?
Because
They
it's
made it a 2-seater.
Right.
Oh, it's not, yeah, not enough.
You need an undo
Well-
feature on this, Nick.
I think that I would love to look at two maps. The one that Nick put together with the kind of the northern people's suggestion and the southern people's suggestions and the Chittenden County suggestions. And then I would love to also see this map because I'm not so sure that, I don't know what changes Randy had that would affect anybody, but I'm not so sure that we should be totally concerned about a 10-point deviation if our bottom one is 5. So Allison?
So, sorry, yeah, okay, thanks. I just wanted to make sure Nick finished that work, which he just did.
So this is
Like-
that map, right?
Yeah. This is the one that we've just been playing with right now, where we have a deviation spread of 10 and 5. I think it's 5 minus 5 something. 5
So,
46.
yeah, we
That's
can look at the
Addison.
deviation right now. Currently, lowest deviation is negative 5.81% in Rutland. Highest deviation is positive 10.29% in the as drawn Lamoille. And this map here is in fact at least the best approximation of the three plans that were given to me on Monday, plus the changes that have been handed down today during this committee meeting.
Mhm.
And if Hardwick is moved into the EO district, does that bring Lamoille down? Is that hard to do the math in my head about the population?
That's what I asked earlier, Andrew, but it seems like Bobby's saying that there's no connection between Hardwick and that district, so.
Right, there's the roads don't really go that way, but I mean, I think there's in general, like when you look at the whole area, there's probably more things in common.
Okay.
What
Well,
about
did
it?
work number-wise.
If
That, you know, again, this is just an astonishing to go from +10 to -3 with moving one town of only
Well, it's
2,900
3,000 people.
Well, it's
It's-
3,000.
What if you go grab Fletcher? Does that balance Lamoille and Franklin a little better? Put it into Lamoille again?
Well,
Yeah.
you'd have to take Hardwick back.
No.
Because Franklin was
Oh,
quite high at that
right,
point.
right.
So that's
Yep.
Oh,
That helps.
we now have a spread of 11.
Yeah.
At this
You have
point,
Hardwick, in our Northeast Kingdom and
Right.
yeah.
very little in common there. They either go to Lamoille or go to Caledonia. They don't come north.
But Senator Starr, do you think that just in general, Hardwick as a town has more in common with, you know, the rest of all the towns of Essex Orleans more than the other towns of Washington or Lamoille?
More than Walden and Woodbury and Cabot.
Those towns, but also the towns of, you know, that are north of there. Just in general, I think of it as more connected to the kingdom than to Washington County.
No, I don't know.
I always thought
Woodbury,
Hardwick-
Cabot, Callis, you know, those towns are,
So recognizing Senator Starr's objections, this has Caledonia as our biggest positive deviation. Is that right, Nick?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I believe it is.
And we've also been wrestling with the Windsor Orange borders and stuff. Where does this map leave us with that scene? Senator Clarkson, I know you'd been talking about what towns. I can't remember the
Yeah. I think this is the,
sense.
I mean, I'm happy to have Andy and I've offered to continue to work on this, but I think this that's the best deviations we have had so far.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're leveling out. I mean, I think with Pittsfield going back to Rutland, we settle, you know, we level out a little bit. I think that, you know, Andy and I are happy to continue thinking and working on this. But it is,
Is Newberry
I-
big to move back over, right?
No,
Why
I
is it
think
orange in orange? I thought we decided that might be a good
That's
way to-
always been.
orange.
Right.
I thought we had put orange back into orange.
Yeah.
No, well, Jeannie's map had it, but we were working with, trying to make it all work with Caledonia. It's, you know, it's that interplay of, and so
So it
this,
doesn't impact Caledonia.
well, it has been in Caledonia District, it and Topsom.
We added it to Washington.
Oh, right, it's been in orange, right, right.
Can you move orange back into orange, Nick, and see what that does?
Yeah. I mean, that, when we worked on that, Allison and Brian, that's, we put both Orange and Topsom back in Orange County.
Right.
And yeah, that's a perfect one person.
Yeah, in both
And
cases.
Washington is a perfect 3-person.
Yeah.
Well, with what we have at the moment with Hardwick
Oh,
and Walden.
Not
Yeah.
Hardwick. Hardwick.
Well,
is
you could even move Hardwick back in
Well,
there
and-
now and it wouldn't change the deviation too much.
And Stowe.
Yeah, Stowe is
Oh,
there.
right, Stowe.
Stowe is critical to make that number.
Yeah.
Just so folks know, it's 8:42.
Oh, okay.
I have a
Thank you.
planning meeting in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
All right.
When are we gonna get together, Jeanette?
Well, Friday at noon.
Today's Wednesday.
And then maybe we can figure out how to go forward. I would love it, Nick, if you would send me a copy of this map.
What? Yeah.
Me too.
If you
Yeah.
could send it to all of us, I can have it just like Jeanette printed locally at my printing shop.
Well, I would prefer if you sent it to me.
The
But-
big map.
The
Yeah.
big, yes, but if you also put a pin in it and label it something that we know, I can probably,
Maybe
Send it
to-
best map yet.
I
Yeah.
was just gonna
Chair,
say that, Chris. The
Yeah.
At
latest and
least get the
greatest.
date on it.
Yeah.
Madam Chair,
And the time.
yes, yes, Chris?
I don't, I guess I'm curious about your expectation. Do you picture the 7 of us, none of us getting everything, but sort of saying, okay, this, a map like this, and this isn't it maybe, but that we get this to the point that we would sort of reserve our rights, but ship it to all 30 senators? I mean, I guess I'm wondering sort of at what point do we seek input, or should we just sort of be doing that constantly in your mind? And that's something
I think,
I've just not been clear about.
I think both. I think we should constantly be working with the people that are being affected, like Mazza and the Chittenden County people and Senator Sears and stuff. But then I think that what might be good is to, and I don't know if we can do this, is to have an all Senate caucus.
Mhm.
Once we kind of settle, is just to have it and go through the map and explain it and take comments and questions and stuff. Because
Yeah.
then everybody would see it all at the same time.
Okay.
Yep.
So
So I'll
Maybe-
talk to, yes,
maybe we might do that, maybe near the middle of next week, maybe Wednesday.
I will
before-
talk to the
Yeah.
pro tem and find out if something like that is possible for us to do.
Okay.
Okay. But does that make sense to do it that way so that we're kind of presenting
Yes.
it to
You
everybody?
wanna get a lot of fights started just before we go away for a week.
Right, then we can all calm down, have a week to calm down. Randy and Brian can go on vacation and calm down and,
I don't know. I'd think about the vacation week a little bit. Might be
I can
best.
do it
to-
on Zoom.
well, let me talk to Becca and see where we are with this idea and Nick, did you?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify. So I'm going to be sending around a physical copy to each member of this committee of this map, dated from indicating that it is the work of today's morning meeting.
Right.
Mike has requested that I send a copy to him to be posted on the committee website as well.
Yep.
And would that be it for output for today, or is there anything else that I can send along?
Because-
More
Some sticky
coffee.
buns?
Yeah, the sticky bun.
I can
I'm
use it for
waiting for
myself.
those red hen sticky buns, which just are like the best.
I think that this, as Chris said, is the best map yet.
Yep.
Oh,
Which isn't to say it's a good map.
No,
Right.
as we always say, do not let the, what is it, the perfect be the enemy of the good.
It,
So, and this will be on our website so that if anybody wants to have it, send it to their printer, they can do that also locally.
Okay,
Thank
yeah.
you.
thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.